Today, we have the pleasure to welcome Dr. Dave Sharma. Dr. Sharma completed his MBBS degree at Amritsar, India, his doctorate of medicine in psychiatry from the University of the West Indies. As a former department chair, he developed the academic curriculum and communication program for the Department of Behavior Science. As a consultant for the medical services of Ross University, he significantly improved the clinical, psychological, and wellness program of the university. Consultant for the Pan American Health Organization, known as PAHO, developed mental health plans for several Caribbean countries. Registered for medical practice in several countries, to include Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis. He is a practicing physician, professor of medicine, an expert on mental health, otherwise known as brain health, and also he is a member of the Rotary Club of All Nations. Dr. Sharma, welcome, sir. And Doc, you are muted just in case.
Are we good now? Are you
seeing yes, sir. You're good now.
Yeah, so I think thank you for that introduction. I'll go straight into the presentation. Of course, you should have said most importantly now member in Rotary International. So it's a very heavy topic, but I made it a little lighter. So I wanted to reflect on the R's of resilience. So we're talking today about resilience for Rotarians, and right, finally get that going. So I reflected on the R's, and here we have recovery. These are the words that I felt fit good with: resilience, resistance. And this is an interesting word. You know, it's not how much we resist, it's how well we resist. So think about it a little bit, because I have another slide that talks about resistance, you know, remain in there. So it's also another good word to reflect on, because it's not always that we should remain in a situation of difficulty. Sometimes running away, the other R might sound bad, but you know, you survive by running, and I've run a few times, managed to survive. Rebuilding is a good word. That's something that Rotary does a lot. Regrowth, so important for our young people to relearn from the experiences of tragedy, and to reprogram and regrow and rebuild. These are the things. And a revival. And the big R here, of course, is you guys and we guys, the Rotarians. And certainly the world needs more Rotarians, because I'm truly impressed and also blessed to be with a great Rotarian, Dr. Vasconcelos. So here we get some history of survival, and it's one of the fantastic events of the world that we have people that can be studying the anthropology and the history of survival. And Andrew Marr, in his book of History of the World, he talks about 70,000 years of history, looking at how humans have survived against all of the odds. And if you think about migration, survival, and even this modern era, we're still having refugees and migration and movement of people for survival. It's quite remarkable that the human spirit will fight against odds. And the Bible, as you can see, is a remarkable story of survival, and I'll show you the book in a minute. But I was researching this topic, and I came across quite a number of excellent books. And here are books about the Holocaust, of course, and survival, the greatest survival, and history of time. Alone on the Ice, another survival experience, survival. So the word is survival. Slovakia, which is not so long ago, And Afghanistan, which is still happening, Cambodia, if you remember the horrors of that. And the one here is the Bible, which is quite remarkable. You know, Mark, I don't know if you've read that one, but it's quite a remarkable book about survival of the Bible itself. Now, question for you all. Which one, remember I talked about resistance. Which one do you think has more resilience, the oak tree or the palm? Oak versus palm. Anybody from, maybe the Floridians will say palm, right? But you're right if you said palm, because the oak tree doesn't flex and the palm will flex. And you know, when we have our hurricanes in the Caribbean, the hard trees will be split and or uprooted, and the palms they bend with the wind and they bounce back up. And you can see here, life is not about how fast we run or how high we climb, but how we bounce. And I think that's a beautiful reflection on how resilience works best. The bounce that we have in us, you know, we can bounce well, we will bounce over the obstacles. If we go charging our head into them, we probably break up ourselves, you know. So quite remarkable how they come up with these fun things that are very, very pertinent to what we're talking about. A little bit about who are the people that tend to be more resilient, and all of you, I'm sure, have tremendous resilience because you're Rotarians, and that's for it. But people who tend to have good control of the emotions, they can handle pressure without breaking down and weeping and mourning and groaning. It doesn't mean that we should not give vent to our emotions, because emotions, expressing them is a healthy thing. So it doesn't mean that controlling emotions means we keep them under a lid like a pressure cooker, because we know that lid will blow if there's no vent to let out the steam. People who tend to have good self-confidence, self-value, I value who I am, I believe in myself, good understanding, that's so important, to have a broad understanding that builds empathy within us. It's a key to empathy. It's the whole thing about emotional intelligence that we're talking about now, having the ability to understand. Faith, Pastor Mark, we have to have faith. And humor, I am a practitioner of humor. Is people who know me will think I joke about everything, you know, and sometimes people don't understand where I'm coming from, and I joke even about things like serious things like death, you know. I'm not supposed to joke about dying. Humor, powerful force for resilience. So I think I'm being blessed with humor from my mom, because she finds fun in every situation. So every time you find fun and humor in a difficult situation, you are a winner. That's but what are the factors we know that help promote resilience? And a nice graphic here about what helps us to become stronger. So we have the personality traits, but they're not enough on their own unless we make a habit of taking care of ourselves physically, emotionally. Nutritional health should be important. Our love life should be important. Our spiritual life should be important. Problem solving, that's so important for young people, that you're faced with an obstacle and that we can now not see it as an obstacle that cannot be overcome, but that we can circumvent it by finding a solution. And I'm a great believer in solutions. Even when I lecture to my students about patients who we're going to lose by death and dying patients, what can we find in terms of hope for those patients? And surprisingly, there is hope. You just got to look for it. Hope could be a reconnection with faith or spirituality. So these things are very, very good for resilience in terms of having a social support system. One good friend. We don't need thousands of friends. In the Rotary Club, we're lucky that because it's a club of good people. There are many good friends, but one good friend is just enough. Maintaining a positive outlook. We all know the famous positive thinking is so important to good health. I thought I should talk a little bit about the pandemic that we're faced with. You know, there's so much going on. And I get distressed by the negativity and the media. The media tends to thrive on disasters, as we all know. You don't see the front page of a newspaper showing something wonderful. It shows the president is now positive. So it's like, wow, that's the big news of the day. What about all the good work Rotary is doing? How many times you see that on the front page? So I just wanted to talk though about how we look at this pandemic and how we can move forward in a positive way. So what we see now is resistance way that we put up by producing barriers, and now that we can find effective medicines and so on, we're going back to the old days of covering up ourselves, so masks and sort of space helmets. That's the way forward and locking down. Then we are looking for the vaccine, which we feel will save all of us. But we got this, and I've been talking about this for quite some time. And people are starting to understand that this is also very true, that we do have tremendous resistance in ourselves, that we as human beings don't even understand our power. We don't understand the power of our brain. We don't understand the power of our immune system. We have an inbuilt system that is protecting us. And we got to build on this. This is the system that we must put forward first. And think about it. And that's where the strength comes from. It comes from within, not just covering up or running away or locking away ourselves, but building that immunity that we have in us. So I just wanted to bring that to you. And also this humorous slide that says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's absolutely true. Once we can overcome something, we become stronger. And in a way, the body does that, because every time we encounter an infection and we overcome it, the body programs itself through the memory, the T cells, the immune system will program itself to remember that invader. And it's there inside of us to protect us and to battle and fight for us. So as I close, I want to reflect a little bit on personal memories, and we all have stories of resilience, and I do encourage all of us to share those stories with our children, let them know the strength of their family, the strength of their grandparents, great-grandparents who may have migrated from another country to another country, overcome difficulties to make a better life for them. And here in this case, I had the experience of going through Hurricane Maria, which devastated Dominica. And my daughter, who was with me at Ross Medical School, she had to move her whole life was uprooted, and she had to move without us, her parents. And I went up about 8 months later, and she had adjusted so well, and she had won a scholarship to the Brooklyn Academy School for her high school. And they had selected her to be the salutatorian, and she spoke absolutely brilliantly about the resilience of the people of Dominica and how these people survived that horrific event where the entire island was devastated. All the trees, even the coconut trees, were ripped apart. The leaves were not there. But if you go back there now, it's again a beautiful island. So it just shows you nature will make us survive. And then I asked my little girl, what do you think I should put in this presentation that you would want to share about resilience? And she said right away, no matter what happens, I will survive. So it's quite remarkable. You know, these are the two little ones. I have a bigger one in England, so she's an attorney. But we are going to make the future possible because of these resilient children. And I want to close with this last slide, which is about we as a club and you as Rotarians always experience remarkable circumstances. And I found this presentation on the internet, which was about Rotarians who are talking about survival and experiences. And this one was amazing. This young man who was going to a football match. He was from Uruguay. And he said when the plane hit the mountain and broke apart, he had just got up from his seat. His friend who was next to him, actually, he died because he fell out of the plane. But if he had sat in that chair, he would have also died. So what's it like to survive the unimaginable? And these are stories of Rotarians, and I urge us to read them. So I want to thank you very much. Hope I've kept my time. Just want to close as far as I believe resilience is all about courage. And thank you for having me, and thank you for listening.